Hello, this is Kevin Martin, President of Peace Action and Peace Action Education Fund, coming to you from Silver Spring, Maryland, just outside Washington, D.C. And my speech today for your conference is Nuclear Weapons Policy of the Trump Administration, Chaos Reigns Supreme. Konnichiwa, and thank you to Gensuikin for our long-time partnership. I feel very fortunate to have worked with the wonderful leadership of Gensuikin for nearly 20 years now. Your support for Peace Action means so much to us. I had hoped to be in Japan this year with you, but the coronavirus had plans for all of us. It is a strange time here in the United States, a crumbling superpower to be sure. COVID-19, which has ripped the veneer off of our civilization, exposing terrible inequalities many of us knew all too well already existed. The strong, justified uprising against horrific murders of African Americans, including many by police who usually do so with impunity, which hopefully will be ending as we demand systemic reforms or new structures for community safety and justice. And a seemingly endless topsy-turvy election campaign amid all of this and the complete ineptitude of Trump. It may be no surprise, but just recently the annual Global Peace Index was released, and the United States ranks 121st out of 163 countries, while Japan is number 9. I'm kind of surprised the U.S. isn't ranked lower, given our endless wars, bloated nuclear weapons arsenal, bloated Pentagon budget, racism, persistent gun violence, and shocking level of wealth inequality. I'd love to know what you think of Japan being ranked so high. Is number 9 justified? I hope so, for the sake of all of you. President Trump's nuclear weapons policies have been an unmitigated failure, and if he somehow gets another term, could be disastrous for the United States and the world. The so-called nuclear weapons modernization program, which is really an upgrade, begun under President Obama but thrown into overdrive by Trump, is a complete waste of money and energy, a misguided priority when addressing public health is so clearly needed, in the only major industrialized country lacking universal health care. And of course, investment in our crumbling infrastructure, addressing poverty and homelessness, and restoring and protecting our environment against the ravages of climate catastrophe are all being ignored by Trump. The increase in the Pentagon budget each of the last 2 years is more than Russia's entire military budget, and the Congressional Budget Office estimates U.S. nuclear weapons spending at about $50 billion per year through 2028, and that estimate is likely too low. This money is to pay for a whole new U.S. nuclear weapons complex, from the weapons laboratories, warhead production facilities, and planes, missiles, and submarines to threaten all life on Earth. Of course, it's not just the money, but the trashing of treaties such as the Intermediate Nuclear Forces, or INF Treaty, and New START, as well as the Paris Climate Treaty and the World Health Organization, and pursuit of new, lower yield, and theoretically more usable nuclear warheads, increased investment in the lie of missile defense, and now the farcical Space Force, as well as raising the disastrous idea of resuming nuclear weapons testing, all make the United States and the world less safe. And these programs and policies are paid for by U.S. tax dollars and the countries we blackmail, including Japan, to get on board with these colossal failures. The new nuclear arms race with Russia is particularly dangerous and needless. If Trump is somehow beholden to Vladimir Putin, one would not know it by the way they are engaged in ratcheting up competition with new nuclear weapons and their delivery systems. Russia's offer to extend the modest New START treaty has been foolishly declined by Trump, with the irrelevant diversion that China must join any such treaty when it has only 1/10 the nuclear arsenal of Russia and the United States. The Russian people, the Chinese people, can afford this new nuclear arms race even less than Americans can. Trump's foolish trashing of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA, the Iran anti-nuclear deal, is a failure and risks yet another disastrous war in the Middle East. And his reality show diplomacy with North Korea has also come up empty, leaving both situations much more dangerous than when he took office. Peace Action has worked diligently with allies in Congress to work to save treaties, cut nuclear weapons program, cut overall Pentagon spending, and to promote diplomacy, but our efforts are extremely difficult with a majority Republican Senate still unfortunately enthralled to the cult of Trumpism. Congress will soon be voting on the 2021 Pentagon budget, including nuclear weapons spending. Various pro-peace, anti-nuclear amendments will be offered to the massive defense authorization bill at over $740 billion, but it is a tough road to get these through both the House of Representatives and the Senate, and then Trump could be likely to veto or threaten to veto the bill, which might make congressional negotiators strip out any such good amendments. As of now, Trump's general incompetence, but especially regarding racial issues and the COVID-19 response, has him down in the polls and unlikely to get another term in the White House. However, should he somehow turn that around and remain in office, big questions would loom regarding Pentagon spending, nuclear weapons programs, and relations with Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. There is at least some thought that, regardless of what thinks about the Trump-Putin relationship or Russian interference in U.S. politics, it would be in the interest of both countries to return to nuclear diplomacy and halt the burgeoning arms race, striking a grand bargain in a new arms reduction treaty. However, given Trump's unpredictability and questions about his relationship with Putin, even a treaty that would be in U.S. and global interests would be met with deservedly severe skepticism. If Joe Biden, the former vice president under President Barack Obama, wins the presidency, there is reason to hope for at least a return to the status quo prior to Trump, and maybe better than that, though Biden would need to be pushed hard to pursue more pro-peace, disarmament, and diplomatic policies. Biden has voiced opposition to resuming nuclear testings and the first use of nuclear weapons, and also uttered a general statement about reducing nuclear weapons while on the campaign trail last winter when asked by a Peace Action member in New Hampshire. His administration would face an immediate decision on extending New START, as it would expire just a few weeks after he would move into the White House. Big questions as to priorities would loom for Biden, especially as he would likely face multiple domestic calamities with the battered economy, racial tensions, and COVID-19. Nuclear weapons cuts with Russia, diplomacy with North Korea, resuming the Iran anti-nuclear deal, and the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty Review Conference would all be up for consideration. There's no current reason to believe Biden would support the United States signing on to the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, but peace forces will certainly advocate it. Currently, Peace Action and others are reaching out to the Biden campaign on nuclear disarmament, as well as wider war and peace, progressive foreign policy agenda, in order to inform his campaign and possibly influence his administration should he take office in January. All of this weighs heavily on the minds of peace advocates here in the United States, even as we organize commemorations of the legacy of the unjustified atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki by the U.S. government. On the 75th anniversary of the horrible events of August 6th and 9th, 1945, the words of the Hibakusha could not be more urgent. No more Hiroshimas, no more Nagasakis, no more nuclear weapons, no more Hibakusha, no more war. Arigatou gozaimashita.